What's up, Eddie Moya?
And we got a very special guest today.
Yeah, we got a hot one today.
Hot one, and it's long time coming.
Yeah.
People love him. People hate him.
Most of the people I know hate him.
But you know what? Without further ado, we introduce
But he's
Billy
my boy.
Fucking Corben.
Billy Corben.
Gentlemen.
Okay, well, because Miami.
Miami.
I'm going to get hammered with my Republican friends, but he's got Republican friends too, right?
I do. A family. What are you talking about? Of course.
How are you, bud?
All right, so let's start off with there. I think for a long time in the city, me growing up, watching Cocaine Cowboys and the documentaries you created, for a lot of the population, or the younger generation at least, just like a 10-year-old gap between you, saw you as like this phenomenal figure, like leading Miami, representing Miami, doing filmmaking, and you've done like a really tremendous job.
Amazing.
And then to a lot of people, from one moment to another, you became like Miami's biggest hater. A lot of people feel like just always shitting on Miami. Tell us a little bit about how you transitioned into, the political side, from filmmaking to political side.
Well, I was always political. I mean, one of my majors at the University of Miami was political science.
Okay.
And I was on a track probably at that point to go into law. Like it was a pre-law kind of curriculum. So that always fascinated me. And let's be real. Everything is politics.
100%.
I mean, if you're filmmaking, if you're opening a restaurant, it's all politics. So,
yes.
But also what happened was, and all of our movies, I think, to be fair, are all about, to some extent, corruption.
Yeah.
Or government malfeasance, or the culpability of public officials in some Florida fuckery.
Yep.
And so it was a very organic, kind of transition for me, if you want to call it that, in that I always say that Miami is a place where the truth is hate and lies are love, where we don't have reality, we have realty. And so when you're selling a facade, when you're selling a dream to people, like, you don't want to tell them that. You don't say, I'd like to show you this gorgeous apartment. Let me tell you everything wrong with it and everything wrong. No, you bullshit. You hustle.
Yep.
I don't begrudge anyone their hustle, but when you're in the public sector, you have a responsibility. You swear an oath. You are supposed to be a public servant. And I think you look around and you see more often than not these so-called public servants are only serving themselves, and they are exploiting their public position for private profit. And incidentally or non-incidentally, local races are all nonpartisan races, meaning you go to the ballot box, there's no R, there's no D next to those names, okay? And so there is bipartisan and nonpartisan fuckery enough to go around. And I will tell you right now, if you look at the people that I call out, I am an equal opportunity critic of party, of race, of nation of origin, of gender, like you name it, and I have called them out.
So two things there. Number one, local politics is what affects you the most. So I think it's important for you to get involved. 100%. And I wanted to ask
That's a very important message. I appreciate you saying that, because you cannot say that enough to people. Who's in the White House? That can take a long time for that shit and that policy to trickle down. Yep. But every single minute of every hour of every day of your life is impacted by who's your mayor, who's your commissioner, who's your city manager, and how many people you think you stop on the street and you say, hey, yo, do you even know what municipality you live in? Do you know who your mayor is, who your commissioners are?
I think the biggest problem is people that don't even know how the system works or their local government works.
Correct. Which is why lately we've had Commissioner Roberto Gonzalez from District 11 that was here this week, and I like him a lot. He was good. It feels like he's getting work done. We had Mayor Lago that was here. We had Francis Suarez that was here. We have Animal.
Those are Billy's best friends.
We have the Animal
the whole Rogues
department
Gallery.
coming.
It's like,
we had Cava last week.
It's like, oh my God. It's like this. It's like the scene from Dick Tracy with all the villains at that conference table. I mean, shit.
But our goal is to show the public how they can get involved, what's trying to go on, and educate them. So a lot of the questions that I pose to them in those cases is just kind of like what's going on, I think you guys do a good job of holding people accountable, and that was leading into my next question.
But I want to say that that's what's important, though, too, is that I endorsed Daniela Levine Cava 4 years ago, and I didn't just bubble her in on my sample ballot that I share online every couple of years. I came out full-throated on video, not just elections are often the
It was against Bobo.
Yeah, well, and Xavier Suarez, Francis's father, and Alex Pinellas, the former mayor from decades ago. So there was other names on that ballot. Those were the two front runners, though, Esteban Bovo and Danielle Levine Cava. But I came out and said, and I'll own it. I mean, it's on video.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I said, not only. So often elections are the best of the worst. Like you hold your nose and you vote for whoever. I said, I love her. I'm like, she is not the best of the worst. She is legitimately a good person, fuck me. I mean, like, she's been an absolute unmitigated disaster. Probably the worst county mayor of my lifetime, including the guy I voted to recall, Carlos Alvarez. Okay, At least he got the Marlins Park made. I think that was a scam and a crime, but at least he got shit done.
Yeah.
This, Danielle Levine Cava has been, at best, incompetent and a hypocrite, and at worst, outright corrupt and a disaster. When you are selecting a CEO of a $12 billion a year corporation with 40,000 employees, there has to be a more serious and competent person. And what ended it for me once and for all was James Reyes. When she, that was the moment her soul left her body. Wow. And she was no longer that decent, respectable, self-respecting social worker that we knew and voted for. She became just a soulless husk of a political beast, a swamp creature, where she said, because her political puppeteer, Christian Ulvert, said, if I have no candidate, I have no campaign, I have no cash. And as we all know, Freddie Ramirez was no longer in the race after he attempted suicide 3 times in one day and shot his own eye out, this poor guy. She needed a new candidate. So she promotes a man totally unqualified, with no law enforcement experience and possibly no law enforcement certification, to become the Dade County Public Safety Director, overseeing police, fire, so that she can endorse him to run for another position he's not qualified for, the sheriff. At that moment, I'm just like, okay, she is a lost cause, because that was the most cynical thing I could have never imagined that she could have done. So what I'm saying is, I'm not in a cult. I'm in a democracy. I try to pick who I think the best candidate is in a race, support them, help them get elected if I can, and once they're elected, hold them accountable. Yeah. I don't just make bullshit excuses for every bad or... Sorry, no, I don't make bullshit excuses for every bad or dumb thing that they do. I hold them accountable. And I'll tell you this, if I support a candidate publicly and openly, I feel more of a responsibility to call them... Because I told people to vote for them. I told people to vote for them. So I'm like, if you fuck up, I'm going to be the first person that tells the truth about you. Okay. And
So I want to ask you this, because I had Cava here last week, and she had talked to me about, where she things that she feels proud of that she's done in the community. I want to ask you, is there anything that you think, I know that first off, is there anything you think she's done good? Is there anything you can think of that you're like, okay, she did a decent job here in this section?
She, here's the thing: so many things that she's done good, she was for them before she was against them, or she was against them before she was for them. Anything she says on Monday doesn't matter by Friday. Gotcha. Because then Christian Ulver comes in and says, you shouldn't have said that, you should have done that, this is the political calculus, you can't, she doesn't do the right thing or the wrong thing because it's the right thing or the wrong thing. She does it because it's politically expedient, and I don't like those motivations. Gotcha. I understand she's an elected official, but I mean, what does she do? Yeah, she killed she was for the water park down by Zoo Miami.
I saw
it until she was against it.
That fell apart, though. I don't know. I know it fell apart with some bugs or some bats or something like that. Yeah, it was weird. Environmental. It was an environmental situation.
That's what they told us. Yeah.
Honestly, it fell apart because Ron McGill at Zoo Miami.
I love Ron McGill.
Ron's my boy. Don't be talking shit about Ron, Bill.
No, but it's interesting because I thought it was a great idea for the area.
Yeah, Ron McGill's the real mayor. Let's be real about this, as he should be, because he cares about the right things for the. You can disagree with him, but he cares about the right things for the right reasons. Whereas Daniela Levine Cava or some of these other swamp creatures you're talking about, like Pansy Postalita and Vince Mar-a-Lago. I mean, all these characters, they don't do the right thing, period. They do the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. But Ron McGill came forward and he said, I can't let you guys tear apart. You already built a Walmart in these pine rocklands, which are which are rare and endangered habitats
we need those.
and like there's only so much of those left. Yep. I mean, suburban sprawl. I mean, you guys have probably seen like those Google Map like time lapses of Miami-Dade developing out into the swamp, right? Yeah. So there's there are creatures on the earth that inhabit this earth along with us that if we pave that, those species will no longer exist. Yep. They will go extinct. Now, whether or not you think it's worth it for some bat or some bug, I hear you, but that was his position. And Daniela, she was fucking pave paradise and put up a water park, like she was full bore. And then when Ron came in, they were scared that Ron was going to either challenge her for mayor or that he was going to challenge Raquel Regalado because he lives in that district. And if Ron McGill stepped up with his name, I pulled Ron McGill in that district against Jimenez a few years ago. And we released the poll. And this guy comes out of the gate. The pollster told me, he goes, I know candidates who would murder a parent to get name recognition numbers this good out of it as a first-time candidate. The man's a legend.
But he's a legend. And you know what the problem is? Number one, I probably wouldn't recommend he do it because you're going to now have a certain amount of people who hate you. You don't think that's true? I think that's a problem.
Half the town hate. But well, by the way, that's why I think he didn't want to run for Congress, but he could run for mayor. You're not a Republican. You're not a Democrat. By the way, he was a Republican, but nobody's perfect. And he, and he would have run without an R or without a D next to his name in a race, in a county commission race or otherwise. But
he would have won.
But I think so.
Think he
I think he would have beaten anybody. And and I'll say this: like this is a case of Daniela Levine Cava doing the right thing, but for the wrong reason. So I'll give her that. I'll also give her. Everybody wants to say how she was great in the aftermath of the. Of the tragedy at the Champlain South Tower in Sunny Isles, the building collapse. But honestly, when something like that happens and you're showing up after the fact, like, what do they say? Showing up is half the battle. Like, look at Rudy Giuliani. Like, he just showed up after 9/11 and he became synonymous with being like. So she did that, which, by the way, some people don't do that, so I'll give her that. She was a presence on the ground, which meant something to the people who were going through that tragedy.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So I gave you two things.
That's good. That's good. Now, my other question was, you're very knowledgeable about what's going on in incredible detail. Where do you get your information? How do you know about these things? Like how? Because I watch politics, but maybe I give it an hour a day or something like that. Mostly federal and main politics, and then what I do locally, but. How do you find the information? Like, how do you get into that type of granular, or how's that information come about? Like that you connect all these pieces.
I wish I didn't.
No,
now, let's start there. I wish I didn't. Like my head is filled with useless, useless information. But I think it's paying attention. I would have been born in Miami, but my dad was working in Fort Myers at the time, and so I was born in Fort Myers. And then as soon as my brother was born and he was done with his job, we moved back to Miami. So I'm a native Floridian and a lifelong Miamian. And I think so when you watch the world, a particular community for that amount of time, you get a lot of information. You get perspectives, and most importantly, just like the New York Mafia has the famous 5 families.
Yep.
Miami has its own political dynasties, that these multi-generational, in my opinion, crime families that prey on this community, just, the father, the son, the daughter, the spouse.
Right, so who would you say are like the top? I don't want to say crime families, but who would you say? Who would you say?
Sat in this chair.
Who would you say are like the top 5 political families or top 3 political families?
Okay, I'll just start naming names, and then we can see what the number is.
Like political families that have left a dynasty in the city.
Yeah. Suarez, Diaz de la Portilla, Hijo de Puta, Hardiman. Holy shit. HMF, the Hardiman Mafia family. You got Billy Hardiman, Roy Hardiman, Barbara Hardiman, now Keon Hardiman. Oh, yeah. They're among the biggest. Well, they're in the black community.
Gotcha.
And they have, so they have their constituency that they victimize and prey upon. And, they're supposed to be serving an underserved community. And instead, It's all about the skin.
So we have Suarez, De La Portilla, Hardiman as political families.
Carollo.
Carollo?
Because you have Frank, you have his brother. Now he's trying to position Marjorie to run for his seat after he's term limited. When have you seen the wife of a commissioner show up to a groundbreaking of a park with a shovel and a hard hat on? It's only because
I heard about the art.
Right, and Francis is now polling his wife Gloria. He's done a poll on her to see what her name recognition is, and she's starting to show up at political events. And Bruno Barrero tried that with his wife. Dennis Moss has considered doing that with his wife. Mark Sarnoff tried that with his wife. The spouse thing rarely works.
Gotcha.
The brother thing works, and certainly the father-son thing works. I mean, for a time, just a couple years ago, there was a time when, if you want to know how sort of backwards politics are in this town, and this happened in Chicago too, so it happens in other places.
It's like a normal thing where power is concentrated.
In outrageously corrupt cities, like Chicago, maybe. But there was a time just a couple years ago, not even last year, when our two major flagship signature cities, Miami and Miami Beach, right? That's the brand. The brand is so big, we changed the name of the county back in the 90s from Dade, Metro Dade, to Miami-Dade. We took the brand because that's what everybody calls the same, everything south of like I-4. People go, I'm going to Miami.
Metro Zoo.
Yeah, it's all, so exactly, Metro Zoo. Now it's
Miami.
Right. Well, I'm going to Miami. It's like, you're going to Palm Beach, dude. Like, what are you talking about? So, but because Miami was so famous, we changed the name of the county. But that's the thing. You can go anywhere in the world and go South Beach, and people go, oh, I know South Beach. So Miami and Miami Beach are two flagship cities of the 34 municipalities.
She just turned 125, right?
She looks great.
How old is the city now? 100?
120. I think you're right.
125, right?
She looks great. Honestly, one of the youngest cities in the country. So we kind of remain the U.S.'s
Total named Miami, right?
What is it?
Tuttle named Julia named Miami, right? Julia Tuttle.
Julia Tuttle. Did she name it?
I think she named it.
I mean, it's a native.
It's an Indian.
Yeah, it's a native thing. I don't know that she named it, but I mean, we're one of the few. Miami's one of the few cities in the country to have a female founder, and a significant percentage, if not a majority, of the signatures on like the original, incorporation papers are people of color. Oh, wow. One of the few, because West Grove, Bahamians came, early immigrants, and helped literally build. Oh, my first literally. Do a shot. Help literally, it's tequila. Help literally build Miami. Oh, I said it again. Hang on. So, so how the fuck did we get on?
We're about Metro Dade, the Metro.
This is like a.
No, but I love the history.
This is like a 395 signature bridge detour I just went on here. Where the hell am I?
I'm glad you started about immigrants building Miami, and we're talking about how old Miami is.
Yeah, what I was saying is that at 125 years old, Miami is still one of the youngest cities, and will forever be one of the youngest cities in the United States. And I always say we're America's like perpetual rebellious teen. Will never grow up. So where you go to the New England or the Northeast, and there's like historic buildings and famous names on it's all about like generational wealth. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Everybody.
New.
Yeah, we're all nouveau riche, and so we're all about the new shit. We don't care about. We have a transient population, a lack of institutional memory. So we're like, the money's in the new shit. The kids want the new shit. We're not about that nostalgia or historic preservation. Knock that shit down and give me the hot, sexy new shit, and that informs a lot of how we operate. Absolutely, and think.
Yeah.
And the influx of New Yorkers and anybody out of town.
Oh God,
we were talking earlier about the situation in Venezuela.
Oh yeah,
and what that's meaning to us now, especially with Maduro hopefully being out there. I know you got some stuff that you've been working on.
Oh yeah,
about that. You want to elaborate on that?
This story. I mean,
especially today's news on the Green Beret.
Jordan Goudreau. Yeah. So, obviously, Viva Venezuela Libre. Like, it's about fucking time.
Right.
I mean, I'm just afraid this is going to go the same way.
I feel like it just happens every year the same.
Right.
No, but the statues are coming down now, Bill. You want to elaborate on what you know about what's going on?
Can I just talk about I don't know. This is like porn for me. I love to see statues come down.
Me too.
Is that a weird thing?
No.
It's a weird fetish of mine, like J.D. Vance on a couch. I love to see statues come down.
I remember Gaddafi when he went down when I was younger.
And Saddam.
That they threw him into the public and the people tore him apart.
And all the Lenin and Marx shit
and
the Berlin Wall. It's there's something that's like
symbolism.
It's the symbolism
against government. Yeah,
I just can't get enough.
People standing up.
Yeah, if there was a tour right now, and there was a Miami travel agent who's like, "We will take you on a destroy a Chavez statue tour of Venezuela," I would be like the first motherfucker.
When Chavez died, I was actually in Venezuela, and I was there for work. I was
know
there.
where I was?
We had
though?
call
I
centers
was in
there.
my Edibe at
And
Telemundo.
I was in the office, and we found out that he died, and everyone just pulled out.
I was
the
in
whole
front of
bar.
Versailles with my pots and pans. Is where I was.
But listen, talking about news today, tell us there was something happening breaking today. Elaborate on that.
For shit. We've been so for the last 3
You're
years.
working on a film, man. This is
3 years we've been working on a documentary called Men of War about a guy named Jordan Goudreau. He's a Canadian who came to the United States. He basically he disowned his citizenship, renounced his Canadian citizenship so he could join the United States military just before 9/11. So he then spent the next 17 years on countless tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I mean gave everything. You know, he had no family. He just went to war. You know, that's why it's called Men of War. And so when he's out of battle and he gets discharged from the military, he's kind of like a man without a mission. His whole adult life, from 17 years old to 34, was spent in the military, being told where you're going to go next, what you're going to do, who you're going to kill. And he's like, I got all this training. I got all this. What am I going to do? So he finds himself, he starts like a security company and in Florida, of course. And, quintessential Florida man. And so he starts to hustle. He gets some gigs. He's like working security at like some Trump rallies, and then he falls in with this guy who's worked with Trump for 30 or 40 years, and this guy brings him to a meeting at a WeWork in downtown Miami and introduces him to a plot to overthrow Maduro. Because that's where all coup plots begin, at a WeWork in downtown Miami. So this is like a classic
city to
because
be in,
Miami.
man.
And this is a film that he's releasing in Toronto, right?
So, hang on, when is this coming out? There's an embargo.
Whatever you want.
No,
No, I'm saying like they're going to announce.
No,
on
no,
August
it'll be
7th.
after.
Yeah, no, I can put whatever.
August
You
7th.
tell me,
No, I
hey,
don't
let it
give
go in 2 weeks.
I don't give a shit, but we're supposed to embark.
No problem.
So
Whatever you want, Bill.
yeah, it's gonna premiere at a big film festival later this
Which
summer.
is the story he's talking about.
Yeah.
And so, but we've been working on it for 3 years, ever since, because this happened in the.
But I assume that he actually went and intended the mission? Or
No, so his boat broke down on the way, but his two buddies, also former Green Berets, who he recruited into this mission, got arrested, convicted of terrorism, and sentenced to 27 years
Venezuela or
in
here?
a fucking gulag in Venezuela. And so this guy's running around Florida and the United States. Well, for a while, he got raided, because this happened in the spring of 2020, COVID. So that's why this got memory hold. Like, nobody remembers this shit. This would have been a big story, but
During COVID, it was just too much.
too much, dude. Yeah. So, but this guy gets raided by the FBI in Florida, and he bolts. He takes off and lies low out of the country. Comes back a year later, and we start doing a documentary with him. And he's worried that there's a grand jury investigating him. He's got a red notice from Interpol out of Colombia and Venezuela. So.
Shit right there.
Crazy. So he's driving around a motorcycle. We're kind of like embedded with him, following him. I'm getting his story as we go. And so we're finally ready with this movie, right? It's going to come out. And 2 days ago, he's in New York, and he gets surrounded by 10 FBI agents, and they put him in a truck, and he's now charged with 14 counts of international arms trafficking related to Operation Gideon, related to this coup attempt, which, by the way, the media dubbed Bay of Piglets, because it was like a totally misguided. It was like a bunch of
And
dudes.
you have video of the arrest, correct?
We have video of everything. I mean, everything. We have video of the coup.
Billy, who you're really working for. I think Billy's
CIA asset.
CIA,
Sure.
Navy SEAL
No, but
specialist.
listen, this is one of those the stories that we love, that I always say, LA is where you go when you want to be somebody, New York is where you go when you are somebody, and Miami is where you go when you want to be somebody else. It's it's always been a sunny place for shady people. It's a place of reinvention, because no one says, "Hey, what's your name? Who's your daddy?" No one gives a shit. Everyone's nouveau riche. No one cares where the money comes from. As long as the open bar is open, everybody's drinking. Going, "Hey, where's this guy come from? Where's this money come from?" It's like, crypto, bro. I don't know. Who gives a shit? FTX forever, bro. What are we doing? What FTX Arena? Go Heat.
That's crazy. That is
literally.
crazy how the Heat got duped by FTX and the city got
They
duped
didn't
by
get
FTX.
duped. This was a Keon Hardeman hustle. This was if you go back, I want to do a whole podcast about this someday.
Wait, before you go into that, because this is
FTX,
interesting.
baby.
What do you know about the FTX collapse and how it happened and how the Miami
say?
Heat or the county got into that situation?
Yeah,
but
what
I
happened
wanted to
there,
ask
bro?
the question. So
What happened? That was embarrassing.
It was It was embarrassing. But listen, not the first time in Miami that we've like named something after somebody that we had to quietly like take down in the middle of the night, while nobody's noticing.
It's still Joe Robbie for me, just in case you're wondering.
With the Bang Bros, option.
BBC,
Yeah.
Bang Brothers Center. That's what they wanted. They didn't offer.
Let's not talk about that. Though. Go with the FTA. Let's not talk about that.
That went viral though. They put Bang Bros everything all over it.
I love this story, and the FTX Arena like thread or subplot. That's just like one pod in just this amazing boom and bust. Because crypto was just the new cocaine for a minute, right? It was just this new boom and bust thing where it's like, give it to us, we'll take it as long as it goes, and then when it bottoms out, it bottoms out, So, I mean, I saw it right away. Everybody else was lying. That's what I'm saying. Truth is hate, lies are love. They're like, when you're dealing in realty, when you're dealing in crypto, when you're dealing in tourism and real estate, it's about you're not telling the truth, right? You're not. And by the way, there's plenty of Instagram accounts and social media accounts where you can find out all that is great about Miami. You guys are one of them. There's beautiful drone shots of gorge. It's all available.
Are we your favorite Instagram
It's all
account?
well, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. What we should do a night in Miami. You should do a spin-off about, we could blur our face.
Do we have the Bad Bunny in the background?
We'll be like we'll be silhouetted though, and you'll have to make our voices robotic. A night in Miami. That's some fun shit. But
electronics.
But like, I think that the crypto moment though, that's a dream doc for me someday. Crypto Cowboys, because that was a thing that was like Miami. My pitch for that is Miami is like if Firefest was an entire city. And instead of Billy McFarland, we have Francis Suarez. We have Danielle Levine Cava. Because he wasn't the only one who put a for sale sign.
Are we going to have bologna sandwiches or like a bootleg Cuban sandwich?
Okay, there's no salami in a Cuban sandwich. Can we just get that? Can we just get that straight?
Well, we'll talk about that after.
Just get that straight.
That's next week with Dan.
Can we just get?
Well, we're going to eat lunch with Billy after. We promise him.
Yeah, are you gonna add some salami from the famous Cuban city of Genoa? I mean, what the fuck? I mean,
but supposedly Danny's Cuban sandwich
no, it doesn't have salami.
It doesn't have salami. I think
that's a whole different.
Do you know who put salami on a Cuban sandwich? Communists. That's who put salami on a Cuban sandwich.
But somebody told me that. Well, we'll talk about that after. I want to go there and talk about that with you.
Yeah. Wait, is Eddie defending? Are you Tampa?
No, I'm just confused.
I'm
confused.
Are you a tampon?
Yeah, I'm not
confused.
A tampon.
I didn't know about that stuff. So then everyone's telling me,
just Tampa
sandwich
claims.
is not doing the sandwich the right way how we used to eat it. And I was like, brother,
no, the Cuban sandwich is legit.
Sandwich? But now I'm understanding that wasn't the original way.
The people in Tampa say that the Cubans first migrated up north to Tampa and for some reason added salami to their Cuban sandwich, and they were the first ones to have the Cuban sandwich. They say that. I don't agree with that, though. I think salami?
The sandwich wars are basically Tampa, Miami, Key West, right?
Yeah.
Like who takes the mantle of having invented or being the first to introduce a Cuban sandwich in the U.S., but only one of those motherfuckers has salami. So I think two out of three.
Which is your favorite Cuban sandwich spot here, like if you were to go to Miami? I know you're friends with Danny.
It's so obvious, like, to me, though. And that's the thing, too. Like, it's easy to say sandwich because it's become, like, the go-to. Yeah. But then you go and you bite into it again.
Yeah.
And you go, this is just a special thing. There's a lot of places that make a good Cuban sandwich. There's not a lot of places that, like...
do it perfect.
Well, do their own meats.
Yeah.
It's not some boar's head shit or some deli shit.
Sure.
They go... Like, I've been to where they, like, cure... the meats where they like everything on the sandwich, like they don't make their own mayo maybe, but like what I'm saying is, but everything on that sandwich comes from them,
and it's extremely consistent.
It's true,
and it's affordable, which is hard to do.
It's my favorite. They are the good
now that
ones.
we're on that, what would be like? That's your number one Cuban sandwich spot. What do you have?
What's
like a
another
2 and
favorite
3?
one? Because everybody's gonna say, "Oh, he's your friend." That's why you're saying.
I'm gonna say. Well, right now I'm gonna say. I don't know if this is controversial or not. I don't.
Everything you say is controversial.
I was going to say, I don't give a fuck. But I prefer a medianoche.
Me too.
I prefer a meaning if you're like one or the other, ride like you have to kill one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
You like a little sweetness in your
bread?
bread?
I'm gonna go I like the soft, sweet bread.
Where do you like a medianoche from?
What is it?
Where would you order one from? That you.
Mary's.
Oh, the coin?
Mary's.
Coin?
Wow, I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning. Talk about consistent. 3 o'clock. I got one just the other night, ate it in the car, and it was like melt in your mouth.
I feel like
it
eating
was
one right now.
just starving. It was and a lot of places, late night spots got a bad rap. Like anybody said, like, oh, I'm gonna have lunch at Denny's. Like lunch at you don't go to you go to Denny's between midnight and like 5 a.m.
It's faded already.
But Mary's
got a good burger.
Yeah, but Mary's is always that
Mary's,
spot.
and the steak sandwich.
So
pan con bistec.
pan con bistec. That's one of my favorite pan con bistec as well. Yeah.
Oh wow! What do you got there, Ed? What do you got?
I got
for
a
Mr.
lot here.
Corben?
I got a lot here. One of the questions is
From online?
from online.
The comment section of Instagram. What could possibly go
25.
wrong on the
All right.
comment section of Instagram?
What are your thoughts on the federal investigation?
Why is the Earth flat?
Okay, no, I don't want to get. What's going on, or what are your thoughts on the federal investigation into Miami Beach Mayor Stephen Minor?
Yeah, the accused sex pest.
Okay.
Stephen Minor. So Stephen Minor there's not a federal investigation. What it was Stephen Minor spent the last 17 years working as an enforcement attorney at the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, their Miami office. Got paid over like $250,000 a year for 17 years. I'm sure he got raises in that time, but sweet job is what I'm saying. Enforcement attorney. He's looking out for fraud. This guy, a Miami Beach mayor looking out for fraud. Yeah. So I feel super safe. So this guy, it turns out, according to Aaron Leibowitz at the Miami Herald, who covers the city of Miami Beach, this guy was the subject of an ongoing HR investigation out of D.C. So it's the feds, but like it's human resources out of D.C. at the SEC. A lot of it's alphabet soup, but like this guy for alleged sexual harassment, 3 women, 2 interns, a fellow lawyer had accused him of being a sex pest, like aggressive flirting, inappropriate text messages while he was married, and these girls had a girlfriend. Like they tried to be nice and polite because he was a superior when you're an intern, and so they now while the investigation was apparently ongoing, last month he up and resigns from this cushy gig that he's had for almost 2 decades.
But he's still mayor?
Because
Miami.
And but he also so he leaves that job, refuses to answer questions. Aaron Leibowitz just chased him around City Hall outside, to try to get answers because he won't answer, and he gets a job. Get this. So he needs a job, right? And of course, as mayor of Miami Beach, just like Miami, you're allowed, and Coral Gables, you're allowed outside employment by charter of the city. And he gets a job with some private company where the guy who runs that company is the founder and former CEO of this like electric bike charging company that just got a city contract in Miami Beach last October because we are an incestuous cesspool of corruption. By the way, even Francis Suarez had his perfect eyebrows up on that. Where he's like, bro, like that's a little too, that's a little too cause and effect for me. Like you give the guy a contract and then he hires you like a few months later. He's like, even Francis was like, I don't know about that.
There you go, Ed. That's your answer.
I like it.
By the way, the fact that you can be so corrupt that Francis Suarez will lift a on fleek eyebrow about it, even him will be like, I don't know about that.
All right, a lot of people say that you're a paid political activist.
Yes.
What? Okay.
By the way,
that was easy.
By the way, not a lot of people say that. I should say a lot. There are a subset of people who say that, meaning like there are a lot of a certain people that say that, and those people are politicians and people appointed to jobs by politicians. People in the public sector say that. You know why? Because they can't fathom. They are so transactional and so corrupt that they can't fathom that somebody would just say and do the right thing because it's the right thing. Every single I've told them once at City Hall, I said, I'm the only person up here who's not getting paid. And none of you, and the difference between you and I is none of you would be here if you weren't getting paid. So, and by the way, I don't begrudge them having a job or getting compensated for the work they do. But to say every accusation's a confession when it comes to people in the public sector. They just try to flip it around. Like, you're getting paid to be here, so you assume because like, why else would I do this shit? My wife asked me the same question. Why else would you do this shit?
You feel like you have like a target on your back at times or anything like that, or you feel still you?
Well, yeah. I mean, you've seen the comments, I mean,
but like in public, like does that like flow into public? Not really, no. I don't see Miami being like that.
Why would you want to do it
here
and never get like?
And never. By the way, I'm sorry. let me say for the record, I'm not above getting paid for it. If you want to pay me to do this, I'll take it. Nobody's offered. I remember Vince Lago, that payaso. He said one day, he's like you're getting, he said this on television. Total lie. He's getting paid by the firefighters. I was like, is that a thing? Can I get by the union? Dude, if firefighters will pay me, I was going to show up at the next commission meeting with a fire hat and like a stuffed Dalmatian going, I don't know why you think I'm getting paid by the firefighters. Dude, I didn't even know that was a thing. Do the firefighters pay?
But I think what you've been able to do is you have a very hardcore following of people who actually do listen to you, whether it be good or bad. They're listening to you, whether they like it or not.
A lot of hate watchers, yeah.
Hate watchers. I never thought about it, but so I think that you are in a position where you could, like anything else, could monetize your input into a situation.
That would pervert it, I think. That
definitely would.
That would prove, but that would prove these guys right as well. Listen, I've considered at least doing like a nonprofit or a PC so that, because this money's like out of my pocket. This doesn't, not only do I not get paid, I am negative. You see an LED billboard? I paid for that LED billboard. When I'm at City Hall, instead of doing my work that I get paid, that is costing me money. Also, let's be real. I probably have more friends and fans if I just played nice. I have a key to the city of Miami. I have a key to the city of Miami Beach. I don't want to be that guy that just plays ball with objectively bad people. That's not my brand. Is truth telling. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I make nonfiction films.
A lot of people think you're always talking negative.
Yeah,
and that's their aspect. That's why they don't like him. But he just said it. It's not.
Jeff Ross, the roast master general. He says we only roast the ones we love. If I didn't care about this place, if I didn't make a promise to myself years ago, one that I've probably already broken, but to leave behind a better Florida than the one I was born into, and make a community where I choose to live and choose to have my family, to try to make it as I see it a better place. We can agree and disagree about policy and candidates, and that's fine. Let's have those good faith arguments, which is why I don't shy away for it. I always sign my name to my shit. I always put my face on it. If you want to come up to me and say, I like what you do, or I think you're wrong about this, I love to have it. By the way, I'm not always right. I feel the way I feel, and I express how I feel. But I express how I feel because I feel it, not because anybody pays me to do it. And most people, I'd say almost 100% of the people that say I get paid, that accuse me, they're all getting paid.
So I was going to ask you, leading into that's a perfect lead into the next question. You consistently go to the commission meetings.
Oh God.
Okay.
You okay?
Still
obviously
trying to breathe here a little bit.
Is there? Do you get anything out of it? I know you're getting involved.
Money, I get paid, right?
So, I think it's good for you to be involved.
Someone will pay me to go to a commission meeting, at least for my parking. I mean, if you want to Venmo me, Matt Gaetz, you want to Venmo me for? I know I'm a little old for him, but if you want to Venmo me some parking money, I'll take it, bro.
So you going to the commission meetings? I think it's important that people get involved, and I think it's a good thing to put out there. Have you ever seen anything good happen? Where listen, I actually went to commission meeting and something was resolved.
Yeah, it's hard too, because if you've ever been in a city hall or county hall or government centers, they call it downtown. Any of these places, not just Miami, any of the 34 municipalities or county government, these places are toxic. Because you have people who work there, who not everybody, but a lot of people, especially the electeds, they're not there to work for their constituents or the people. Their constituents are the people they see every day. We can't go there every day. We have fucking 4 jobs to make ends meet in this town. My side hustle's got side hustles in this town. But my firefighter side, whatever. But so they don't see real people. And if you want to come to public comment, they make it extra hard to do that.
I thought it was easy,
dude. First of all, it's 9 a.m. on a weekday. Who do you know can go anywhere at 9? If they wanted to engage more people, maybe they would do it on a weekend, or they do it in the evening. Some cities, to their credit, do deliberately. I think Sunny Isles has Surfside. I'm sorry, they do evening meetings deliberately to increase engagement. They limit the amount of time you can speak. You have people like Christine King, who, by the way, is part of the Hardiman Mafia family, the HMF. She's just a puppet of theirs. They were funneling public money to her through this Martin Luther King Jr. economic. It's like phony baloney charity that they were just no bid, grant, millions of dollars over years to cultivate her.
Nobody's looking at that over there. So.
Nobody's, and then it always invariably turns into a real estate hustle, because everything in Miami, if you're trying to get to the bottom of something, you're like, why did this person do this? Why are they doing that? Why? Odds are,
Real estate.
it's a real estate hustle. So it's not 100%, but it's a safe place. You're like, okay, let's start with real estate. Let's figure out if there's a real estate hustle, and then we can move on from there. Right? It's almost always a real estate hustle. Almost always. It doesn't matter what it is. But you go to City Hall and you realize, you know who they see every day there? They see lobbyists. They see lawyers. They see millionaires and billionaires, people who can afford to go or people who are getting paid to go. And that's who becomes their constituents, because they don't see us every day, us serfs, us peasants. No. They see these rich people every day, and they become who they go to work for every day. You'd be shocked if you look at these agendas at these towns and cities and the county. Most of the shit they do is all about real estate, doing deals, giving contracts to like most of it is just this sort of insider dealing, this incestuous cesspool of corruption. Most of it's not like, hey, how can we help people in Miami who are struggling? They don't give a shit about that.
So
but yes, I have seen a tricky Vicky Mendez, the disgraced ex-Miami city attorney and AKA mob lawyer, I call her. She got fired. That was a good thing for the people of Miami.
Saying that people were like going after her, like her kids and everything after that on social media and stuff like that.
Her kids. I didn't even know she had kids.
No? Oh, I thought she had. So they were going after her family. I don't know.
Question. Well, remember, she and her husband are under investigation and being sued civilly for the real estate hustle. They've been accused of basically stealing the homes from sick elderly people who they help get removed from their houses. They declared incapacitated by a judge, removed from their houses, and then in many cases they get to buy the house. It never gets listed. They buy it from the county's guardianship program. This whole Miami-Dade County IG report, the Office of the Inspector General, just released a report. It was like a ton of insider real estate deals. So they're basically stealing homes and money from these elderly people, allegedly, and then they are selling for under market value. And then
sometimes you said even same day
they could flip it the same day, make 5 or 6 figures, and in the craziest case, it's alleged in this civil suit that a resident of the city whose mother was very sick, if she might have passed already, that her home, because she was old and sick, had a ton of like code enforcement violations. Yeah. And the son calls and says, "Hey, what do I do? I want to do something about this. What can I do?" So a friend of his referred him apparently to Vicky Mendez, the then city attorney. She says, "Well, listen, there's nothing I can do, but you should call my husband. Maybe he can help you." This is what he alleges. He calls the husband. The husband says, "Oh, you know what? There's nothing." He goes, "But I'll buy it from you for below market value. No one else bids. He doesn't list it. I'll buy it from you he buys it from him for a song." He
fixes everything in 30 days.
No, hang on. Not only does he do in like what looks like a full interior reno based on the pictures, but allegedly pulls no permits, gets no does all, and then get this, on the eve he now wants to sell it, and on the eve of sale, a couple days, he emails. He says, "Oh no, I need to talk about all these liens and code." So he emails the code enforcement board at the city. All public record. He emails the code enforcement board at the city, CCing Joe Carollo, CCing his wife, going, "Hey, can I get on the agenda in 6 days on the code enforcement board?" People wait months to get on the agenda. They put him on the agenda. He appears on camera. It's all on video. And they say, "We waive the $200,000 fine, Merry Christmas." And he goes, "Thank you," sells it the next day for like a 5 or 6 figure profit. And hang on. The house that Vicky Mendez and her husband, and I guess their family lives in right now, they got it from the guardianship program. It was one of these sweetheart insider. The house they knocked it down. They fixed it. It's gorgeous. Apparently, I've never seen it, but it's beautiful.
Been invited or no?
I was not invited to her going away to her retirement party, to her shit can party.
Leading to that, have you ever tried, or do you think it would be of any benefit to maybe try to have a one-on-one with these elected officials on your behalf, or is that even an option? Or have you?
I have. Yeah. I mean, I've sat in, not one-on-one, but I've sat in in his office with Joe Carollo and some of his staff. I've had.
Do they welcome you, or like usually is it like confrontation?
They love to see me.
Okay.
This was a few years back, and I call it the before times, which is like pre-COVID, which is like a whole other world, But I sat in Joe Carollo's office with him. I've broken bread with Francis Suarez. I dined with Vince Lago. Well, that's one-on-one.
So it's not. So there's nothing like your thing against them is not personal. It's them as public officials.
I will say I take it personally when you violate the public trust. And listen, if they were hustling in the private sector, whatever, as long as they were doing shit legal, or Miami is gray market, whatever. That's
not
how you
in public
operate.
office.
Right? They're not. You violate a public trust when you take that job, and especially when you exploit that public position for personal and private like power and profit. I can't stomach it because like if you take a job like that, like you have an opportunity to really help people. Like you have an opportunity to do good for a lot of people, to change people's lives in a really in a community where people really need it. I mean, there are people who there are people who make a lot of money who are struggling in the to make ends meet, who are still living paycheck to paycheck in this
Miami's
community.
extremely
We should have a sit down
expensive.
and have them all sit across from each other.
By the way, I have an open invitation
That would be amazing.
to Daniela Levine Cava, to Francis Suarez, to Vince Lago, to Keon Hardiman, to Eileen Higgins, to anybody I've ever tweeted about or IG'd about. Dan Gelber. I've talked mad shit about the mayor of the now former mayor of Miami Beach, Dan Gelber. He came on my podcast. He came on
that's awesome, though.
Yeah,
but I think that is important. Us being able to sit down and talk about situations. It shows, number one, it shows the public that we're trying to get to the bottom of stuff.
By the way, I could be mistaken. Let me just say this. This is how I feel. These are the facts that I have and the understanding that I have. If I'm misreading something, I've been wrong before. I might be wrong right now. There might be some things that you can set me straight on. But don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit me. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. That's the thing too. These guys are professional spinners, and they know how to pivot, and they know how to obfuscate and get coy or cagey, and I can't abide by that, which is why they won't come on my podcast, because they know there's going to be a follow-up. They know there's going to be facts.
Maybe we'll come. We've had him on before. Some of the people he's mentioned are my friends.
No.
I'm here just completely down the line and give them the opportunity.
I'll give you some of that firefighter money if you can.
So wait, I got okay. So with all that being said, have you ever, which I know you did something recently, but it was kind of in and out. Have you ever tried, or would you be interested in running for public office or a commissioner seat?
You know how they say never say never?
Yeah.
Never. Never.
Why not?
That's on the record.
But why not?
Never.
I think you'd actually do well.
By the way, part of the reason is the same reason why people say, "Oh, it's so hard to get." I've tried to recruit candidates too, so I know it's hard to get.
Are you a Robert Kennedy, Bill?
What is it?
Are you a Robert Kennedy?
Which one? The good one or the bad one?
Good one.
Wait. Which one? I don't know about that. I liked his dad. Okay. But that
was a good question.
So it's good. No. I mean, the short answer is no. And the why is also in a way you don't change the system. You don't change the system changes you. I have seen so many people like Daniela Levine Cava, Ken Russell, Francis Suarez, people I had high hopes for, not necessarily believed in, but fingers crossed, maybe they'll go in there, they'll understand the sort of importance of what they have the ability and opportunity to do, and maybe they'll take it seriously. That I've just watched, and it's because of what I was saying. Like, it's toxic. You don't care about your voters anymore. You care about the people you're interacting with every day, who are your donors.
That's a good way to see it, though.
And so what I'm saying is, I can effectuate, in my opinion, more positive change from the outside than I ever could from the inside. I mean, we got a great commissioner elected in working against the Democratic Party, by the way. We got a great commissioner elected in Damian Pardo, the first ever out gay, city of Miami commissioner in history. And he's up there trying to do the right thing every day. But when you're one voice of reason in yelling into the void, it's very hard to get anything done.
All right, so I have a personal friend that asked me to ask you a question.
Okay.
His name is
Is it a personal question?
No, his name is George.
Oh, I thought you were saying Joe Carollo.
His IG is Dweez.
Dweez.
And he says that he's always on your IG talking shit and stuff like that.
All right, he's welcome.
You mean he hates Bill?
He's welcome.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
He's welcome. Everybody's welcome.
He's like an intellectual and articulate just like you are. And he told me, he goes, listen, ask him, in hindsight now, do you think it was better that Ron DeSantis got elected or that Andrew Gillum would have been elected, considering everything that happened?
Great question.
Because you were a big proponent for Andrew Gillum.
Is Andrew here? Let me see.
No, bro. What happened? What happened there? Bro, that was incredible.
Andrew's not here. I checked under the table. So for people listening and not watching, it's a sight gag. You got to do the radio jokes. So Andrew, Oh, by the way, full disclosure. Get this, okay? Ain't no shame in this game.
You got hammered with that.
I was not like he did, but call the nurse. We're only fans here.
The most embarrassing thing that ever happened to a man. Go ahead.
Go for it.
I think that would probably have to rank up there. Okay, there again. I have to say, there's a video.
Yeah.
There's a video. No, hang on. Not what you think, Kiko. Hang on. No. Not what you think.
Look, I'm putting them on the spot for all my Republican friends.
Yeah.
And they know who they are. Answer us, Bill.
All right.
What happened?
So I registered.
Were you there? No,
New World School of the Arts. I registered to vote. I was 17 years old. My senior year, teacher came around and said, how many of you are turning 18 this summer? I said, I am. Born on the 5th of July. 1996, presidential election year.
We're the same age, by the way.
And born in the same hospital on the same day, I heard. So
that was a private story.
so putting your business out there. Sorry, dude. So
big deal.
So I said so I registered to vote right then and there. And what happens is you turn 18, they send you your voter, a month later or a couple months later, they send me my voter registration card. And I've been a super voter ever since. I have voted in everything. I'm sorry, I registered as an NPA, independent. So because we're a closed primary state, you only vote in what you're allowed to vote in.
Independent as well.
Yeah, so you're only allowed to vote in what you're allowed to vote in. So I would vote. I really couldn't vote in primaries, but I'd vote in every general election, every nonpartisan local race. If there was a one-issue referendum, I'd be in an empty polling place. I would be there
and post what he
I
voted.
would be there, voting for it ever since I was 18 years old. So, and I will tell you right now, I could give you 2 months and all the time in the world, and I'd give you $100 million that I don't have, but maybe you could get from the firefighters. I give you $100 million if you could guess my voting record, like just presidential elections every 4 years from 1996. There is nobody on earth, my wife included. Actually, I don't even know if I told her, who could guess who I voted for president. I will say overall, not just president, but overall elections, I have voted for as many Republicans, even in nonpartisan races, as I have Democrats. Possibly more.
People don't know that.
Possibly more as an independent. But here's the thing. I believe there came a point where the Republican Party that my grandfather was a part of, a Republican Party that I found candidates that I could vote for decades, was not that party anymore, and was not a good. In this country, it's humiliating that we only have two major political parties. I mean, you wouldn't walk into a gelato restaurant that didn't have at least 20 flavors. But you're only going to get one or two. But
it's by design, though.
Dude, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It is unfair, and it is disenfranchising, and it is not a thing that I believe in any more than I believe in the Electoral College.
I mean,
people
look what
should
happened
vote.
to RFK. Even though some people like it, some people don't. He wasn't even allowed to be on the debate stage.
You have to have rules,
I think that we're straying away from what happened to Andrew.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But this gets really embarrassing for me. So your friends will love it.
What happened to your boy?
Your friends will love it. So here's what happens. I decide, I'm like, listen, I want to participate more in my democracy, not less. I want to participate in the primary elections as well to help pick our leaders, to help pick our nominees. So, and I really believe that I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left the United States as far as I'm concerned. And you want to abdicate our responsibility as a world superpower in the name of isolationism and let Russia and China basically take over the world and abandon our allies. And I'm like, I can't be about that. I'm like, I have more conservative values than that, and I can't abide by that. And so I said, I'll change my, I'll change to Democrat in 2018. And there is a video of me I am at an Andrew Gillum phone banking center in Miami Gardens, where I was Carol City. I'm help hosting like a night of phone banking for, making calls to prospective voters. And I told kind of this story in short about my NPA-dom since I was 18 years old, and said, but I am now a Gillum Democrat. Damn. Just like there were Kennedy Democrats and Reagan Republicans.
Yeah.
I said it.
You went all in.
I said I'm a Gillum Democrat. Now I will say, but to answer Dweez Nuts' question, I will say that part of me, because I'm going to be fair about it, part of me believes that unconscious on the floor in a puddle of his own blood and urine, that Andrew Gillum would be in many ways a better governor than Ron DeSantis. By the way, that said, because I believe that from an empathy and policy standpoint, I would like more of what he would do, because I believe government, and this to me is what my conservative values and what small government is to me. Small government is to me when more Americans have more rights.
Yep.
Because when you say small government, it doesn't have to be like
actual shrinkage.
Fire people or whatever. Small government means government has less power and
over
less intrusiveness over the. And so when you get I don't give a shit if two consenting adults want to enter into the contract of marriage. It's a contract. And and you say the government's going to acknowledge that contract for a man and a man the same way they will a man, and they'll have whatever rights under that contract that everybody else. I don't give a shit. I don't care. The government should not be giving more rights to one group of consenting adults who enter into a contract than another group of consenting adults.
But I think most people feel like that.
That to me is conservatism. Like that to me is small government. I don't smoke marijuana. I tried it once. I don't like it. I think consenting adults should decide. I think we should have a legit industry around it, like we do bars and Oxy or whatever poison we
It's getting to that, even though it's
knock
taking
wood.
forever.
I hope so. So I believe that policy-wise and in terms of character, well, let's not say character, but empathy, I would have agreed more with a Gillum governorship. However, because I got to keep it real, I think Andrew's secret was one of the worst-kept secrets in Tallahassee. And that would have meant, conceivably, like he said in hindsight, right? So I'm being real about my hindsight. Andrew Gillum could very well have been the most corrupt governor in the history of Florida, and we wouldn't have understood why. Meaning we would have been watching this guy. Like I watched Danielle Levine-Cava going, what is she doing? Why is she making these decisions? Why these votes?
Yeah.
Why these vetoes? Why not that? I'd be going, what's going on?
Somebody has blackmail on him.
It would have been
easy.
It would have been because he was compromised. And by the way, I got a source. I'm breaking. I had a source that year who told me earlier that year there was a former Republican lawmaker in Tallahassee in 2018 who knew this secret and wanted to move on it. So what Republicans are so good at falling in line and messaging and rebrand, really excellent. The party basically put the kibosh on it and said, we're going to keep some powder dry in case this guy wins. We're not going to run on homophobia or down low brother. We're not going to play that card now. What we're going to do is we're going to say, and also remember that guy lost by like 30,000 votes and change, and he had almost $3 million in the bank that he didn't spend. There was some fishy shit at the end of that race, and he didn't contest. Like there was weird shit that we were all kind of scratching our heads and wondering. Maybe now we have our answer. So listen, I'm being fair.
So that's a good thing.
Listen, who knows? Like, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Who knows what would have happened? But like, I'm telling you, on the one hand, I might have felt this way, and on the other hand, I'm going to be sitting around going like, "What is this guy doing? He is not who we thought he was, and that's because somebody knows his secret and is playing that hand." That card.
That was brutal. That was brutal.
I love this town, though. I love this state, though. Come on, man. By the way, Andrew Gillum came to Miami because he wanted to be somebody else. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
there you go. So one of the questions that I have for you, and I actually want to get your own personal thoughts on it, is we're about to have a new sheriff in town. Okay, what are your thoughts about that and how that's transpired? It came down from the state. We didn't even have it. The people in Miami-Dade County didn't want to have that control by a sheriff. So what are your thoughts? And actually, who are you voting for? Who do you think would be the best person for that position?
Or Miami-Dade County
So
mayor.
stupid. So stupid, dude. Like, this sheriff thing is a mess. To be fair, it did come down from the state, but it was a state constitutional amendment that, to be fair, we all got to vote on. You have to remember, we had a sheriff back until the 1950s. You remember why we don't have a sheriff anymore? It's a fucking corruption scandal. And so we're like, well, this is probably not where we need to be at in law enforcement. You shouldn't have a politician running law enforcement, which we kind of do now, to be fair. There's no perfect system for this.
And listen, I'm friends with James. So what he's been talking about, I work with the PBA.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
I work with the police. This is important things that.
Yeah.
Well, then talk to your friends in law enforcement. Nobody thinks he's qualified for this job, and that's only because he's not qualified for this job.
A little backlash.
Yeah.
It's political. It's the most craven, crass, and cynical political bullshit I've ever. And he's a Democrat, and that's the other thing too. It should not be a partisan race.
But is there someone?
It's a
but it turned into that because of the amount of people who went in there. Was what I heard.
No.
There was a lot of candidates. Now you got Knapp. Who else is in there?
Joe Sanchez.
It was in the constitutional amendment that this would be a partisan race. They now want a constitutional amendment to make school board races partisan. I don't think they should be I like the nonpartisan races. I prefer the nonpartisan races.
But do you have a specific? It's happening. Do you have a candidate in specific that you kind of like looking at you like?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that he has a shot. Certainly, Danielle Levine Cava and her political puppeteer Christian Olvert, that grifter, consultant cowboy over there, certainly they don't think a black candidate can win a statewide or in this case, countywide race. But Ricky Mitchell, to me, is objectively just the best candidate in the race. You've got a guy who is a retired Miami-Dade or Metro-Dade police officer after 25 years. Guy's got a law degree. Guy's got another master's degree. Guy started a business, put $250,000 of his own money into he's self-financing. This guy is like the full package. And I believe, by the way, if he had more love and support, if he went out into the community, that a black candidate could win a county. Because I think people would see him and go, I like this guy. The guy's got the experience. He's got the education. He's got you look at some of these other guys. I mean, Joe Martinez is on trial for corruption.
I saw his poster
I mean, come on. Joe Sanchez was a Florida highway patrolman. That is nothing. Who, by the way, was one of the deciding votes on one of the worst crimes ever perpetuated on the taxpayers of Miami and Miami-Dade County. He was a Miami City Commissioner who voted on Marlins Park. That, to me, is a crime. You robbed this community of $3 billion, okay, is what you did to turn a multimillionaire into a billionaire. Okay, well, has Little Havana seen anything from that?
No, they just did a
any
fire
additional
sale.
Development? No, what I'm saying is there's been no upside to Marlins Park for that. All the bullshit that they always sell with these what they call public-private partnerships, but are actually sports welfare for rich people. Never trickles down. And that's Joe saying. I mean, Joe, get out of here. The guy's basically a co-conspirator on a $3 billion robbery of the treasury of this county and city.
So that leads to another question that we have.
And James Reyes, have I said James Reyes?
You have not.
Is not qualified. It's insane to me that what we consider the top two contenders right now for the first sheriff that we.
Who are the top two right now?
I think probably objectively is Sanchez and Reyes. They are not qualified for the job. We deserve better. We deserve better in this community. We deserve people with police, with law enforcement. Well, FHP is law enforcement, but with police experience. James Reyes is from corrections. He has no law enforcement experience. I'm told he may not even have the appropriate education and credentials. He lives, Kiko, ¿dónde? In Broward. He doesn't even live in Miami-Dade. He said he'll consider moving to Miami-Dade if he wins. Get the fuck out of here.
That's crazy.
And shame on Danielle Levine Cava. Shame on her. for trying to force this. Not, he might be a perfectly good man and a good corrections chief or whatever, for all I know. I do know that he helped sign off on a 6-figure insider corrupt deal for Sheriff Tony up in Broward for some insider company. So I don't know that he's that good at the public trust or be at corrections. But so make him the head of corrections. But don't appoint him to public safety director of Miami-Dade County, for which he has zero qualifications. Don't try to force him down our throat for sheriff, for which he has zero qualifications.
Yeah, I believe she vouched for him when I was talking to her the other day.
She endorsed him.
She endorsed him.
By the way, she knew she was going to endorse him before she promoted him. That's what I'm saying. What she did was she used her public office to try to beef his resume, to try to make it, because the guy's never been the chief of shit. So she wanted to put the word chief in front of his name. He's the only quote-unquote chief in the race. She magically made him chief in a position
crazy.
he was unqualified for so that she could call him a chief. What I'm saying is, what is more corrupt and perverse than that when you are exploiting your public office for your, in this case, it's not a personal benefit. It's a personal benefit and professional benefit for her rainmaker and political puppeteer Christian Overt, but it's certainly a political benefit. She should not be using her office to benefit, her and her people and her pocketbook.
All right, that's good. That's good. Now lead me to the next
Boy,
one.
tell me about your boy. Tell me about how
No, wait.
your boy
You're gonna
is.
get killed, but
No, that's fine.
Dude,
I
he's a
opinion is
Democrat.
opinion.
I thought you were going to get killed by Republicans.
We're good.
everybody that
Telling
Billy
the truth.
mentions, and I know.
I'm telling the truth about Democrats right
Listen.
now. Is that a problem?
No,
what
but-
does Dweez Nuts think about that?
Dweez Nuts?
Has
I'm
Dweez
gonna
Nuts-
FaceTime
has he-
later.
We should
This is
FaceTime
a
him.
little
FaceTime him right now.
James, you can come on and talk and debate what Billy said. This is an open forum for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
And
bring it on.
I'm just in the middle, but
By the way, maybe I'm mistaken. And if I'm mistaken, then tell me I'm mistaken. Don't bullshit. Don't spin. Don't, tell the truth.
yeah, who's FaceTiming there, bro?
My boy, that's the question.
Dweez Nuts.
Listen,
Live questions.
Quick question.
Live
Quick
calls.
question.
I'm gonna get
Freedom Park.
Oh, Jesus.
I want to talk about that because he just talked about the Marlins Stadium and Freedom Park. I think for the community, I think it might be something good. I know it's going to be a hellhole for traffic. I know that they want to make it like.
Are we talking about the underline or the bridge?
No, the actual
underline.
the park that's happening.
You don't like the bridge design? What about the bridge design?
Dude, let me tell you something right now. I don't want to be on or under any infrastructure in this town. Can we just for the record, okay?
So Freedom Park gets approved, and they're going to break ground. I think pretty soon. Or nobody has any idea.
Messi will never play in that park.
That's what I've heard, but
The guy, he'll be in Century Village or the villages driving around in a golf cart by the time that thing opens, dude.
So, is there anything you want to say about it or the way it transpired? Considering we just talked about the Marlins Park,
Yeah. No, don't worry about it. I didn't wear my diaper today.
But leave the cup there.
Yeah, hang on. No.
Nah.
I just want to get some more water.
You want a refill or?
No, thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So, thanks to Miami Freedom Park, the ironically named Miami Freedom Park, Marlins is now the second worst sports welfare deal in the history of this community. And remember, you're supposed to learn from your mistakes. You're supposed to look back at the record you have and the experience you have and say, I'll make new mistakes, but I'm not going to make the same mistakes, and I'm not going to make them worse than I made them before. And that is Miami Freedom Park. Miami Freedom Park I did a mini doc about it with David Sampson, of all people. I mean, talk about villains, talk about like Rogues Gallery. I mean, this is the guy who hustled the Marlins Park public financing deal. And I was having a conversation with him one day, and he's like, oh, the Miami Freedom Park deal is much worse. Wow. And I was like, will you do an interview with me about it? Can we do like a fun little mini doc? And he's like, absolutely. And like this guy and I, like, we didn't get
along.
I met him for the first time on a podcast with, bless you. I met him for the first time on a podcast with Dan Le Batard, like sitting between us, like this. Yeah. Dan was here, playing referee. And he says to, like, one of the first things he says to me, he goes, I've talked to my therapist about you. Wow. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I've been giving this guy shit.
I remember.
And I'm like, well, I guess you can afford to pay him when that $3 billion
That's
in
good
public
one.
money that we gave you, scumbag. So anyway, but he said to me, he goes, this deal is so much worse than the Marlins Park deal. And we talked about it. And I did a mini doc about it. That a lot of people
I haven't seen it. I gotta check it out.
really upset. A couple, when on the eve of the vote at the city of Miami. And this is just a bad.
You got approved by a hair, no? By one
It's
vote?
just a bad deal for the taxpayers. You have to remember when you are.
Well, how do you? But what happens when the taxpayers want something like that?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, by the way, I am not against
Like,
a
my
soccer
question-
stadium
yeah,
at that
that's what I'm
location.
saying.
I'm not against. Everybody's like, "Oh, you'd prefer a golf course?" I'm like, let me make it clear right now. The only thing I care less about soccer is golf.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I
But
got
the way
no
I
ball
see
in
it-
this
the way I
battle. In this
see it
battle,
as
I
like
don't.
the way I would see it is like, I don't know what the fuck the city's spending the money on, so at least spend the money on something that I'm going to play with and see.
Yeah, but
My grandparents, my grandmother, may she rest in peace. They were all, when I was screaming and yelling 10 years ago about Marlins Park, they were like,
What do you care?
I don't give a shit. They're like, we love baseball. We'd love to see a ballpark.
Yeah.
We don't care who's going to pay for it.
Yeah. But that's
I'm like-
a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell they're spending money on, so I might as well spend money on something that I'm going to hang out and
Something
see.
that I'm
Yeah.
gonna like, and I'm like, yeah, listen.
it was fun in the beginning.
By the way, the great thing about Miami, I think one of the best things about Miami is that there is something for everybody.
True.
Not everything is for everybody.
100%.
Not even everything is for somebody. But no, that's not true. Everything is for somebody, and there is something for everybody here. I've never been to Ultra. It's not for me. And now I've certainly aged out.
Yeah.
Maybe if Andrew Gillum comes to town wants to
yeah.
go with me. But but I love that Ultra's here. And like when they were like when the city was giving him hell about Bayfront
Yeah.
Park and everything, I came out and supported. I'm like, I'm not going to go. I don't have a dog in that fight. I think it's cool that we have. I don't go to the boat show. I love not since I was a kid. I love that the boat show is here. Yeah, traffic's a pain in the ass. This is
The
I
South
love
Florida
it.
boat show
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
By the way,
that's
Critical
coming up.
Mass, which I think I always give them shit on Twitter. I love Critical Mass. I think it's really cool, and they publish their route. So if you don't want to get caught up by 1,000 bicycles, just don't drive on that route on that Friday night.
that time.
I love all this shit, and I love that there's again, not everything is for everybody. Doesn't have to be for me. And even if I don't like that place, that doesn't mean I hate it. When I say don't like it, don't go. It doesn't mean I hate it or I wanted to shut down. I'm perfectly fine with the ballpark being there. I'm perfectly fine with the soccer stadium being exactly where it is. But we have to negotiate the best deal.
100%.
It's our property. It's the people's property. It's public property. We have to. We should get a good. My beef was the deal. Was the particulars of the deal and the manner in which it was negotiated. When you want to buy a property, you want to open an office, you want to buy a house. What do? You go on Zillow. You go on Redfin. You call a realtor. You drive around and see a sign and you make a call. Oligarchs in this town call a mayor, and the mayor becomes their realtor. And that's not how this should work. And this is not about soccer. Soccer was the shiny object to distract people who love soccer into a real estate hustle. That's all this was, straight up. This was a takeover of the city of Miami taxpayers, not Francis Suarez, not those commissioners. It's not their property, but our property, the largest contiguous piece of real estate we own and the largest, what they call the green space that we own. Right. So that should be open for bid. Joe Carollo came up with a great idea one day. Turns out he didn't actually mean it. What he does is he introduces great ideas just to scare people so he can hustle them and shake them down. But he said, hey, why don't we give an exemption to Inter Fort Lauderdale, whatever they're called, to build a soccer stadium on that site? Because they have a special under charter, they may have a special exemption because no one else is coming to the table with a soccer franchise. But all the other development, the hotel, the shopping mall, the office, but why don't we bid that out so we know we get the best deal on the free and open market? Capitalism. So we know that we're getting the best. Because by the way, Jorge Mas is not a real estate developer. He's never built a hotel or a mall, or you know what he's going to do? He's going to license and sublease all of that out. So why do we need a middleman? Why do we need someone between us and our money? Why? Because Francis doesn't want anybody. He doesn't want us between him and his money. That's why. So when Jorge Mas went to the Miami Herald editorial board to make the case, I'm always saying, like, hey, when there's these public-private negotiations, who's sitting on our side of the table? Who's negotiating on our behalf that we trust to negotiate the best deal for us when they have warped values and perverse incentives? Miami Herald editorial board. It's a table just like this one. It's people on this side.
A lot of people have a lot of problems with those people too.
Miami Herald editorial board on this side. On this side is Jorge Mas. And who is sitting shoulder to shoulder with Jorge Mas? Francis Suarez. literally to a shot on his side of the table. So when I say who, I'm like, that's the shoulder to shoulder, scribbling in a legal pad, Eddie, just like you, scribbling in, while they're. I'm like, this guy's Jorge Mas's lobbyist and lawyer. He's not representing us. And so when you have nobody, they're all getting together going, how much money can we steal from these dumb poors, taxpayers that pay all of us, that we steal money and skim? What kind of sweetheart deal, what kind of below market value deal can we give on a no bid 99-year lease on the largest piece of property that the taxpayers own? I asked Ken Russell this, a Democrat, by the way. I'm sorry to piss off your Republican friends by talking shit about a Democrat. But I talked to this clown and I said, Commissioner, would you sell your house to me right now for whatever amount of money that I'm offering, based maybe on a years-old assessment by one assessor.
By one person.
And by the way, you agree to take my bid. You're not going to list it. You're not going to accept any competing bids, just my. He goes, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, if you wouldn't do that with your property, why would you do that with our property?
That's a good point. Yeah, you shut him down right there.
All of a sudden, I'm not a communist anymore. I'm a capitalist, and I got all these guys who call me a communist arguing for socialism for millionaires and billionaires. What are we talking about here?
All right, so that's a good point. That's good. Good. I mean, I think we could talk for hours and hours. I'm starving though, but I want one last question before we head out to Sandwich that I know is your favorite, and we canceled on him twice. So we need to
by the way, but let me tell you why. And you said like Danny's my friend. I didn't know Danny like before. I met him and Rosa after. And let me tell you about, I think it means a lot in this town because, I do it all the time. Like when you go to a business, particularly a restaurant, and you have people who care, who give a shit about your experience and have pride in the food that they're serving and like just make you feel like you matter and what's happening. The food matters and the serve. Like you just, like Chef Jeff at Apocalypse and Danny at Blue Collar. And there's people like, Chef Ruben at Airport. Like people who just give a shit. Like it makes you feel good. And like, and when the product, so excuse me, Andrew. When the product,
you could be a good comedian.
When the product is as good as it is at these same places that I've name checked, what's not to love?
All right, so on those things, I got two questions then. Kiko, if you want, ask the top 3 restaurants. Go ahead.
Yeah, what are your top 3 spots? This is all. I always get heat for this myself.
I knew you were going to ask it, and I'm still unfucking prepared.
This is we can say for right now at the moment, so people don't get heated. At the moment, what time is it? Let's say,
a hold of a newspaper.
What is your top 3 rotation right now?
No matter what, you're going to get heated, blasted. That's what I've done it before. So your top 3 spots.
Here's the problem with that. Let me start with the disclaimer. The problem with that is that like when people say I'm coming to town, where should I eat? I go, what part of town are you in? Are you staying in? And what kind of cuisine are you in? Because now in Miami, depending on where you are and what you're interested in,
you're acting like a politician right now.
Well, what I'm saying is you don't have to drive 100. You don't have to sit in traffic for
Billy,
top 3. If I ask you right now, where should I go this weekend?
Billy Corben's top 3. Where are you taking the wife? What's gonna be like? God, we gotta go. I need 3 of them. You can't bail.
Oh, fuck.
This is the easiest question.
Can we do outside looking in? It's not the easiest question.
It is. The things you said about
he has a lot of friends. That's
about
why.
friends.
You just put a target on your back right now. You've been doing that your whole life, and now you can answer three restaurants.
This is Miami's toughest question.
It is.
It really the most passionate. We've had freaking race wars in the comments over restaurants.
Yeah.
Chicken wings. People want to fight each other at parks.
No, we're
over
serious.
Chicken wings.
Yeah.
I swear to God, Flanagan's. I mean, we were still talking about it. Fucking 6 months after we talked about it.
Okay, we can time lapse this.
All right, go.
This down.
Top 3, bro. Like, let's be real.
All right, go. Give us your top 3 restaurants.
Yeah, Bill. Stop dodging the question. Top 3.
Yes. So here's what I'm. All right, so here's what I'm. I guess got to be a disclaimer. So what I'm going to do is basically name the places. They're not necessarily the best or my favorite. The places I eat at most often.
Fair.
3.
Right. And they can't be sandwich shops, you said.
No, it doesn't matter. We all
because sandwich shops are not restaurants. Kiko, is that what you're saying?
Danny, don't listen.
Is an empanada a sandwich?
No.
Oh, all right.
No. You know what I mean.
All right. I love blue collar. I eat there as much as I can up north.
I love Danny.
I love Achana, the Thai restaurant in the Grove.
Wow.
I think it might be.
That's a good one.
It might be the best Thai restaurant in. It's the folks who used to have remember the green building on US 1 back in the day.
Yes, I remember.
That that was like the best time.
Yeah,
I think it's like the same.
Really?
Some of the same people there. Yeah.
Number 3.
And number 3, just where I just hit up a lot. Meraki, the Greek restaurant. There's 3 of them. There's one in the Grove. There's one downtown, which is really cool. It's kind of hidden in a courtyard. But my office is on Miami Beach, so I go to the one on Alton Road. They all have slightly different menus to cater to like.
I like that.
I've had it several times.
But listen, there's not a lot of places for a great.
That's your rotation.
But not a lot of great places for a gyro in Miami, or like those like those fresh baked like Greek baked goods and desserts and stuff. So Meraki, especially the one on Alton Road, and I love the one in downtown Miami because it's like in this cool courtyard of this old building. Yeah.
All right, that's excellent.
Well, I take the metro.
So
that's
the last thing, that's another. We gotta talk about that later. I don't. I was gonna ask you about. I was gonna ask you about the airport situation that's going on.
What airport?
Like it's all fucked up, And,
oh, you mean like that shit coming out of the walls like a fucking Ghostbusters movie? Like that?
What was that?
I don't know. Was it like some Nickelodeon award show?
They're like Ghostbusters, like slime.
Dude, seriously, I thought we were gonna start seeing like the spirits flying around.
That's bad, man. Airport's bad. Airport's bad.
And by the way,
and I don't understand how a $22 billion project is like that.
Dude, listen. Okay, so the airport is the heartbeat of our economy.
Yeah.
You could also, by the way, and you could argue that the port is like the liver, is like, I mean, there's certain vital but
the port is ran the right way. I hear the port was easy to run a port,
or the lungs.
Well, he's saying because of the chemicals that go.
I hadn't thought about that metaphor, but it holds. But I mean, I'm talking about like organs that you cannot live without.
Yeah.
Like the no airport, no Miami.
Yeah.
Like that's it, straight up. So this also, to me, from a customer service standpoint, which we're a hospitality town, we should have better customer service all around, public sector and private sector, by the way. But we never should have talked about big government. We never should have created the TSA. The TSA is one of the most absurd, pathetic, constitutional violating make work programs that you could ever conceive. That did not exist 20 years ago. Yeah. We created this bloated, absurd, multi-billion-dollar agency basically overnight.
The shoe bar, no? Or am I crazy?
Dude,
that was like the big thing, right?
Dude, look at the stats.
Airports used to be like train stations. You just walk
after that, it was like, yo, you could put shit in your shoes, take off your shoes, right? That's when it started.
Yeah, and by the way, the airport security before could have told us to take off our shoes. You don't need an entirely like gigantic, like absurd, like federal agency, new federal agency to do that. Anyway, I digress. The point is that MIA is also, and I think this is important. Orlando certainly does. Speaking of hospitality towns, they do their best, but we've all grown so fast, so quick. I mean, what the pandemic did was exacerbate every trend that we've been warning about for decades. Going. So inflation, affordable housing, infrastructure, the ever job, schools. We weren't, and then all of a sudden we went 20 years ahead to where we knew we were already slowly sliding. All of a sudden it was like, boom, we're fucked immediately. So the airport, though, it is the first and last impression that everybody who comes to Miami has of Miami.
Good point.
So it almost doesn't matter what the hell happens in between.
You got to go through there.
You come in with a bad first impression and you leave with a bad. You're like, fuck this place. Yeah. Like it taints your impression
Escalators
of this place.
Elevators don't work.
And Miami is a great place to visit.
Yeah,
people should come and spend money here.
It happens to people here in Chicago.
Yeah.
But by the way, one day, during the pandemic, they finally finished the fucking decades-long remodel of LaGuardia in New York. So I take one of these first flights out. You know, when you're all cracked out, you don't sleep the night before because you're nervous you're going to, miss your alarm. So you're just like, sitting up there. You're like,
just keep it going.
Yeah, you're getting in the Uber in the middle of the night. It's dark. So I go, and so I'm sitting on this flight, and I'm like cracked out. I get off the plane, and for about 30 seconds, count that out, 30 seconds, I am totally disoriented. I thought I got on the wrong plane and I was at the wrong airport because this terminal was gorgeous. And I'm like, this isn't LaGuardia. And I start I'm too embarrassed to ask somebody, like, excuse me, where am I? Like Andrew Gillum waking up on the floor of a hotel room. I'm like, where am I? Like, I looked around for signage, and when finally I saw like a digital sign. I was like, welcome to the new LaGuardia. And I was like,
wow, that's amazing.
Holy shit.
Can we do that here?
In English, no. In Spanish, No.
Okay.
Let me do bilingual. Like, no, we can't, because the airport in my MIA is an ATM. Going back to Alex Pinellas when he was mayor, what the Miami Herald called the Wheel of Fortune, when he started, Alex Pinellas made millionaires in Miami by giving sweetheart deals away to his friends and cronies at the airport. Okay? Because you see what they charge for a fucking empanada at the airport. You see what they charge for a
that's one of those situations,
dude. It is. What I'm saying is, by the way, that is Kathy Fernandez Rundle's original sin. The fact that nobody was ever prosecuted for public corruption at the airport, going back to the 90s on the so-called Alex Pinellas Wheel of Fortune, that was the original sin, because that sent a message of impunity that our top cop for the last 31 years is going to abdicate her obligation to prosecute substantive public corruption cases, and that message of impunity and that's why we are the way
there's
we
nowhere
are.
To go
that's why
that you can see corruption, and that's definitely.
So what I'm saying is, we can't fix the airport because it's too.
You think it's too bad?
There's
They're just gonna throw money at
too
it.
much
They're
to
gonna throw more
steal.
money at
What
it,
I'm saying
too.
is there's too much to steal. Keon Hardeman gets elected, goes from the city of Miami to Miami-Dade County Commission, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm laughing. I'm like, first place he's going to go is the airport committee. Guess where the first place he goes is? The airport committee. You know why? MIA equals ATM. You get to shake down vendors. He's got his aunt, his uncle, his bagman, his bagwoman, Auntie Barbara and Uncle Billy and Uncle Roy going out there going,
where's the money?
Going, oh, you want a con? You want this? Oh, you got to hire our people. You got to hire our company. By the way, the only thing transparent in this town is the corruption. And that is why Miami International Airport can never be a first-class airport. You see people from all over the world come here and go, this is some third-world shit. And guess what? When I say, like, we have third-world government and fourth-world infrastructure, I don't say that proudly. I'm RFK, the good one, senior, once said, hang a lantern on your problems. And that means, like I said, I endorse hang a lantern, tell the truth and say, this is what's wrong. Because what do they say? The first way to solve a problem is to acknowledge that you have a problem. And in Miami, we have all the problems, by the way. So we are the 21st century city with all of the 21st century problems. And if we don't start taking this seriously, we are going to all live to see a time in which no Cubans will live in Little Havana. No Haitians will live in Little Haiti. No Dominicans will live in Santo Domingo. No Bahamians will live in West Grove, Little Bahamas. No, what I'm saying is, this is happening.
As
we're
we
watching
speak.
it happen. And it's not in slow-mo anymore.
Nope.
It's now in time-lapse.
It's already happening. That's
a good point.
And by the way, once you get rid of the people who built Miami and who brought the culture to Miami, it's not.
That's
not Miami.
In a small sense, that's what happened to Wynwood.
It lost its soul. You lose your character, your culture, and then your soul.
It becomes capitalism and property.
And it breaks my heart, because Miami, organic Miami, is such a special place. And I had such high hopes back in remember MySpace. Speaking of the before times, the lost civilization of MySpace. When I saw a generation of Miamians who were born here, who started. Remember, you have a little quote on MySpace. You could put a little quote, and people were writing like 305 till I die. Yeah. For the first time, you saw that in that era, and you're like, these are folks who were born here, who take pride in this place, and maybe that next generation of leadership, of entrepreneurs, of voters could help fix this place. And I still have hope.
You should. I think things can change, and I see a lot of good stuff. The original reason for the podcast was because a lot of the bad stuff we see in the streets all the time, which we know happens, we wanted to be someone who was bringing the good stories. I have good friends and family here. I would
like to bring people to share their ideas.
There's people who have good families here, who have good jobs, who have good businesses, and they do good things, and they get overshadowed by all the bad stuff that happens all the time.
And part of the problem is, while elected officials are denying the problems so much, or claiming that, or just saying the problems. Like, I do have solutions. I do have plans. I don't know that they're good plans or solutions, because what you need to do is come together in good faith and debate. That's why I want more robust political parties, because more ideas and more people at the table, again, in good faith, with an agreeable set of like facts, like if someone says, if I go, the sky's blue and they go, no, it's green, like you can't have a good faith policy debate with someone like that. But we have an opportunity to do that here to say like, but first we say, okay, this is the problem. Now, how do we think we can best address that? Because that's the bottom line is people in Miami need help. And more often than not always, people in the public sector are not. How can I help, bro? They're not actually here.
How can I help, bro?
They're not actually here to help.
Last question that I have for you, so we can go. All right. For those people who say you are the ultimate Miami hater,
oh
right?
My God, here we go.
What do you want to say about that? That people just say, "Hey, Billy, stop being a Miami hater."
I'd say stop being a Miami liar. Like, tell the truth about yourself and who you are. I know I have problems as a person, and I acknowledge those problems, and I try to work on those problems. Again, the only way...
But do you love Miami? Like, if people had to, like, they say, listen, he's always talking bad about the city. Is there anything that you want to say, like, listen, I do love this city?
I'm sorry. I live in Miami. I choose... Yes, I have family. Yes, I've spent my whole life here.
Of course.
But I choose to live here. And I choose to live here because I love it. I choose to live here because my family loves it. It's not just where we are. It is who we are and so much a part of who we are. And not only do I love it, but anything that you love, you want to make better, you want to make stronger. And we can agree, again, we can agree or disagree about how to do that and who might be best situated to do that, not James Reyes. But we have to agree that we love this place, and we know and people can watch your podcast and know all of the great places to go and things to see. But if you come to my social media, you will see a difference. Someone wrote about
a lantern.
Yeah, someone hang a lantern on our problem. Someone wrote about me in an article once. They said and I hate to refer to myself in the third person, but it's a quote. They said it's clear. It's certain that Billy Corben loves Miami. It's not entirely clear if he likes it. And I thought that was a funny take. But I love Miami. I'll stay until the flood forces us all to go. And let's just face it right now. I've been in a lot of cities around this country and all over the world. You can't get good coffee anyplace else.
Yeah.
I can't drink coffee anyplace else. Like, you just can't. So for that reason alone,
we got to say
Cafecito Cowboys, I mean.
A pleasure, man.
Really,
it's really,
thank you for having me.
Love talking shit with you, bud. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. This was going to be a doozy.